Do you often find yourself at a loss for words in social settings? Or are you just trying to find ways to improve yourself and maybe want to improve on talking to anyone? Or you're scared about being awkward? Well, you're not alone. Today, I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to start a conversation and keep going whether you're shy or not. Hi there, I'm Jenny. I'm a shy introvert. A little backstory about me is the idea of talking to someone else other than my closest friends was very daunting, and I felt very awkward, and sometimes like a classmate or two would strike up a conversation with me and I would just either respond very awkwardly or just the conversation just would end awkwardly. Fast forward to high school graduation, I decided it was time for a change because I was actually studying to be a hotel management major, and if you're gonna work at a hotel, you have to talk to people, you have to talk to random people, you have to talk to the guests. So what I basically did was throw myself into these social settings. I tried a lot of different ways to talk to people and came up with these tips and ideas and practice them myself. But before we dive in, I just want to let you know, being shy is normal. Many people experience a bit of fear in social situations, and that's perfectly okay. However, if you're like me and if you aspire to improve yourself, or you just want to be able to make a good impression when you're at an interview or when you're at a work outing, wherever, you're in the right place. So let's get on with it. Number one, start with small talk. Okay. Begin with simple, non-intimidating topics like the weather, current events, or even like shared experiences that you've heard about about that person. I know that you introverts out there, myself included, hate small talk, but if you really want to talk to someone or if you want to really get to know someone, that is a way to start. This can help you ease you into more in-depth conversations and sort of help you find some common interests. Some examples can be when you're in a concert. You can ask someone who happens to be going alone as well, or even just with another friend. I've had that happen to me. You just ask them how they got to know the artist, or like, oh, what's their favorite song from the artist, right? Or if you're at a work lunch, ask them, oh, hey, what are you getting? Like, they can talk about that. Or hey, have you been here before? Something like that, right? And you can think on the spot, or if you're like me and you tend to overthink a lot of random things to overthink about, you can pre-think a question if they've been there before, or if it's their favorite place to go, or if they have other burger places that they like, or do they even like burgers and are they just here for work, you know? Like anything, right? Just think about the possible questions that you could maybe ask. Preparing it definitely makes me feel a little more confident about conversing with other people because it just helps me feel like I'm prepared and ready. It's the same thing as going to an interview. You kind of practice the questions and answers that you're going to give, and it's kind of doing that as well if you're going to like a professional setting or even just going to a concert too. If you're feeling very anxious about talking to new people, then definitely try to think about conversations you want to have with the other person or the new person that you might end up meeting. Number two, use compliments. Complimenting someone on their outfit, a recent accomplishment, or something you genuinely appreciate about them can make it easy to start a conversation. So, compliments not only make the other person feel good, but also create a positive atmosphere from the moment you start that conversation. So, there's a quote from Maya Angelou that I really took to heart when I was working in hospitality. It says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So for example, I worked at this hotel for 3 years. My first year, I was in sort of like a back of house person, and then like the next 2 years, I worked as a receptionist instead of back of house. I was working at the spa portion of the hotel resort, and basically I was helping clean up and also setting up the lockers for the guests. And so when I was setting up the lockers and stuff, there's not really much conversations going, but this one guest, she lost something, and I actually like went through the entire like the swimming pool of the resort and showers, everything. I was looking everywhere for, I think it was like her earrings, I don't remember what it was, but it was a jewelry, and I think it was pretty expensive. So I was looking around, and then I finally found it in the corner of a shower booth, and I found it. And the moment she saw that it was her that I found it, she was super ecstatic. Fast forward to like a couple years, she came back. I don't remember, unless they're like a regular person, like a regular or a VIP, then I would definitely remember her. But she was just like someone who just who comes every once in a while. And this was like 2 years later, or a year and a half later, I think. She comes back and she's like, "You're a receptionist now? You got promoted." I was like, "Who is this lady? How does she remember me?" And I was like, yeah, like I took it casually because it would just feel awkward if that person remembers me, but I have no idea who she is. And so I was like, yes, I got promoted recently. And she's like, "You helped me find my accessories," and I was so happy. Like, I remember you from back in the locker area, and I remember your face so well. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like she remembers me, like out of like hundreds of employees that worked there. So it was really nice, and it really made me realize that this Maya Angelou quote is true. Make the other person feel happy. Compliment them. Even though some compliments are not memorable, some people might compliment you on the shoe and you probably won't remember who they are, but still, like, it just makes you remember, oh yeah, I remember wearing these nice shoes and someone complimented me on that. You remember that, right? It makes you feel happy, right? So compliment someone. It helps makes things a little more memorable to them and to you. If the conversation stalls after a simple thank you, after a compliment, here's what you should do, which is tip number 3: ask questions or find common interests. So asking open-ended questions and identifying shared hobbies or interests to discuss is a great, natural, and comfortable way to start a conversation. So if you compliment them on their clothes, ask them where they got it, right? And then if it's a place you know and love, or a brand that you love or you always buy from, you can start talking about your opinions on that place and just keep the conversation going. Especially the conversation definitely gets easier when you are talking about something you personally like, and it's also something that they personally like, and it just makes it more enjoyable. If it's like a one-sided thing, it obviously feels awkward. It definitely feels, just sort of out of place. And so, yeah, try to ask something. And so just don't stop the conversation with one question. And if you don't know where or what they said, just ask them about it. Don't be afraid to say, "Oh, I've never heard of that place," or, "Oh, tell me more about it," because that person might really like that place, or that person might not like about the place. Either way, the conversation keeps going. If someone just doesn't really respond to you, they're just giving you like a one-word response, or they're just giving you that vibe, like you get that feeling when they're not really responding to you. Try to just make the conversation go. If that person doesn't seem like they want the conversation to keep going, then just let them go. Be like, "Oh, well, it was nice talking to you. Hope you have a great day." Just leave it at that. That even makes even a better impression. It makes them feel more comfortable that they're able to leave without making things awkward or feel rude, anything like that. Now, asking questions or starting with small talk is great. But what's important is that you also, which is tip number 4, actively listen. You need to fully focus on what the other person is saying and respond thoughtfully. This not only enhances the quality of the conversation, but also creates a relaxed and engaging atmosphere. So I know many of you who are probably watching this may feel anxious about the situation. But once you start focusing on what the other person is saying, whatever your head is overthinking won't have time to overthink because you're basically listening to what the other person is saying, which is a great way to be a great listener. Being a great listener makes not only the other person feel like they're being heard, it also shows that you're paying your full attention to them. Have you ever had that conversation where you're talking to someone and it just feels like there's no response, and you can kind of tell like they're either daydreaming or just not listening, you know, or they're just distracted by something else. Not a good person to have a conversation with. That's why you don't want to have a conversation with those kind of people. That's why you gotta start actively listening to those people, to people you're talking to. That way they like having a conversation with you because you actually listen. That's the point, right? That's the point of a conversation. It's not just a one-sided thing. Some signs you could show that you are also actively listening while listening can also be very helpful. Like sometimes I tend to add a few nods when I'm listening to people. I would also be like, oh really? Or, you know, add like, you know, those little filler words. Yeah. If you're giving the person who's talking responses that you are actually like immersed into the conversation, it definitely helps keep that other person also actively converse with you, because they're like, oh, this person actually genuinely listens to me. Like, I should probably listen to them as well. Give them that same response when we're talking to each other. I think that's like the main point. It's a basic concept in conversations, but a lot of people tend to forget that. Have you gone on a date or went out to eat with friends and you see someone talking and then like the other person's like texting and like are you really listening? I don't think so. And that makes me feel like I don't want to spend my time with this person because this person's being distracted while I'm giving them my full time, right? So you would want that to have that reciprocation as well. Actively listening to that person definitely helps the conversation flowing very smoothly. Moving on, we have tip number 5, challenging yourself. So you can challenge yourself with realistic social goals, such as initiating one conversation at an event or sharing your thoughts in a group discussion or chat. Just gradually expanding your comfort zone. I know this can be scary, but practice makes progress. Like, there are so many times where, you know, we all just tend to hide away and just because we're afraid to do something and we just don't want to do it because it makes us feel uncomfortable. But the more you do that uncomfortable thing, you start to feel comfortable at it because you're used to feeling that uncomfy situation and you're just always putting yourself out there. So all in all, it helps you thrive in uncomfortable situations, such as having a conversation with some people you just don't really know. There are so many ways you can challenge yourself. But one thing I've actually put myself into was working as a server at a restaurant. It was horrible. The first couple months I was like a robot. I couldn't start a conversation with someone. I literally had to like see what the other servers were doing because they were more experienced than I was. And I tried to copy them, but that was not me. I felt so awkward. Sometimes I felt like a robot and I was just copying what the other person was saying without really genuinely meaning what I was saying. So I was just an awkward server, and you probably didn't want me as your server. But yeah, after that was my very first job, and it didn't go so well. But my next couple jobs later, I started getting better and better because I was talking to more people. I was facing more customers. I was also seeing more experienced servers who are working with me and seeing how they interact with people, and it definitely helped me learn. I have an eye for a person's, body language. If they seem like they would want to start a conversation, or if they seem like they don't want to have a conversation and just have a meal and go. It definitely helps to put yourself out there and just keep practicing and making sure you're taking small steps at a time. Don't put yourself out there like what I did, to be honest. It's definitely not easy, but if you're willing to go for it, just go for it. You're probably like, Jenny, you're saying practice makes progress. How do I practice? There's no events that I want to go to, and it costs a lot of money. So how do you practice? You practice by talking in front of the mirror. And I know, it sounds weird. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, it works. It really works. I started doing this back when I was in high school. The thought of presenting a project or a slide was super daunting for me. I could not stand it. I learned this, I think I googled it or something, how to be better at presentations or how to have more confidence in presentations or something. And I learned that talking in front of the mirror or presenting your slides in front of a mirror really helps you gain that confidence, and it also helps you observe how you look like when you're presenting. When you're talking in front of a mirror and you try focusing on your posture and your body language, it just shows you how you talk to someone and how you look when you're talking to someone. Do you use a lot of hand gestures? Do you have an open body language? Do you have a closed body language? If you are more closed, it's better to have an open body language because you seem more approachable. Have a good posture. That way you seem more confident, more willing to talk to anyone. You're probably like, okay, well, if I practice in front of a mirror, I have family around. They're gonna think I'm crazy or something. Who cares what they think? Or if you're really worried about what your family might think or your roommates might think, just whisper it in the bathroom before you take a shower. Or you can also just don't practice it in front of the mirror. Just practice just practice talking in the car if you're driving to work. Just practice. Find somewhere to practice. It really helps. So these are the tips that worked for me. And while I'm not claiming that you'll be a social butterfly overnight, I can attest to the positive changes they brought into my life. The first few attempts might be nerve-wracking, but most people are too absorbed in their own thoughts anyways. So regardless of what they think, it shouldn't really matter. And remember, confidence in social situations is built over time and through consistent practice. So practice. No matter what, just keep practicing. You'll get there. You'll definitely get there. If you made it till the end, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and follow for more videos like this. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of these tips and if you plan on using them in the future. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!